Today, Oregon suspended running back LeGarrette Blount for punching Boise State defensive end Byron Hout after the Broncos' home win last night. Blount then had to be restrained when he appeared ready to take on some Boise State fans as well, as he was enraged after the incident. This from the Pac-10 today. This statement, quote, "We commend the University of Oregon and its leadership for taking swift and decisive action in response to this incident. The Pac-10 strongly emphasizes sportsmanship and fair play in all its athletic competitions and expects high standards of sportsmanship from all participants, including student athletes. In this case, those standards were not met, and the university has taken appropriate disciplinary actions," end quote. Let's bring in ESPN college football reporter Joe Shad. Joe, take us through the logistics of this, if you would. What went into the decision by the university to suspend Blount now for the entire year?
Well, Matt, Oregon first-year coach Chip Kelly first saw this on video for the first time this morning, 11 a.m. Oregon time, and Kelly said it was immediately clear that he had no choice but to make this decision. Kelly has preached from the moment he took over the program that his players had to be accountable for their actions. Kelly has preached that he expects his men to act like grown men and therefore be treated like grown men, and obviously Kelly felt that last night LeGarrette Blount did not do that.
A brutal start for Chip Kelly, elevated from offensive coordinator now to head coach. He goes on the road. His team looks listless against Boise State, and then the post-game incident with Blount. What does this do to his team and his start there at Oregon?
It's a devastating loss. Last year, Blount shared carries with the explosive Jeremiah Johnson. Matt, both of those running backs are gone. That means that Oregon, playing with an inexperienced offensive line, now has to turn to two redshirt freshman running backs who are both quick but small. One guy, LaMichael James, is a speedster from Texas, but neither one of these guys has the power of LeGarrette Blount.
They have a week plus to get themselves, get it together and get themselves ready for Purdue next Saturday. It's ESPN college football reporter Joe Shad with us.
Step just like what the Pac-10 and University of Oregon did. Oregon went ahead and elected to impose the penalties. Pac-10, endorsed those, and we're probably three-quarters of the way through our process.
All right, Carl Benson, WAC commissioner. Carl, thank you. Good talking to you.
Thank you, Brian.
And Oregon running back LeGarrette Blount dropping the right hand on Boise State's Byron Hout, and he is suspended for the entire season. Oregon, in conjunction with the Pac-10, making the call this afternoon. Didn't take long. Here's the NCAA statement on Oregon-Boise State fights, if that's what you want to call it. Under no circumstance is fighting acceptable. That's what they call it. If it occurs before or during a game, the officials enforce the rules. If it occurs after a game, institutions and conferences decide how to address the situation. We trust our members to handle these situations appropriately. Sportsmanship is everyone's responsibility, including student athletes, coaches, officials, institutions, and fans.
On 4th and 1, he gets stumped at the line, and Blount, who had said that Oregon owed Boise a backside whipping, had negative yards for the night, -5, and they won it 19-8 at Boise. Now, after the game, Byron Hout went up and had a little something to say to Blount. I'm sure you've seen this by now. Blount then dropped a punch on him, a little sucker punch, as he turned away, and then went absolutely berserk. Now today, Oregon suspends their star running back for the remainder of the season after the punch, and probably just as damaging, the fact that he went after a teammate who tried to cool him down and then appeared to be attempting to go into the stands after fans who were taunting him. I believe that's assistant coach Scott Frost who has a hold of him there.
And bottom line, personally, as a former athlete, you're representing not only yourself, but you're representing your university, you're representing the alumni, you're representing the school, the coaches, the administration. It's all on you. For him to react like that, he basically went over the edge, as we all know. But right then and there, you just showed that he had a lack of respect for all those players, all those coaches, all those alumni, and the university by doing that and committing that act at that time.
There had been some chippiness and also a war of words in the days leading up to the game. This was rooted in a testy game last year between the two, and Blount had said that they were going to deliver a whipping to them, and clearly Byron Hout was letting him know it, or at least that's certainly the way it looked. Now, Hout is also going to be disciplined by Boise State. Chris Peterson saying that his situation will be handled internally. You see, now, Peterson reacts immediately as soon as he hears whatever Hout has to say.
Absolutely, but by the same time, you had 60 minutes to hit the guy. You had 60 minutes to do it. Now, when somebody wins, they can be chippy. They can afford to talk. They won the football game. You get beat, get on the bus, go home, prepare for the next week. But I do applaud Coach Peterson how well he did. But I also want to say this about Coach Kelly. You can be an offense coordinator and still not being a head coach because you have to look at the chemistry. Are they ready to hit? Have I worked them too hard, not hard enough? Oregon was not ready to play this football game. And I know when I went from Ohio State to William & Mary, I made that same mistake. On Thursday, I didn't like the way practice was going. I scrimmaged them. We went on Saturday. We played worse than Oregon did, but you learned. Fortunately, I was at William & Mary, nobody really cared.
Wasn't on national television.
That's right. You're in Oregon. That's a different world.
The game, they said it was like a bowl game for them, and Chip Kelly hasn't been a head coach before. That's quite a way to break in for him. And by the way, don't know exactly what Hout's punishment's going to be, but if I had to wager, I would say that it wouldn't be long before he can tell you the exact number of steps there are in Broncos Stadium.
Oregon's top running back gets run. LeGarrette Blount set a school record with 17 touchdowns last season, ran for over 1,000 yards, but after this Thursday night display against Boise State, the university suspended the senior for the season. Oregon will keep Blount on scholarship, which will help him stay in school. It will also allow him to practice with the team, just not play, which may help him stay in shape for professional football. 6'2", 240 pounds. I saw Blount play in person last season. He is a powerful back. Touchdown record was no accident. He was the Pac-10 scoring leader, 7.3 yards per carry last season, tied for third best in the country. Oregon is short on help behind him. The remaining running backs have a combined 158 career rushes.
The Sports Reporters with John Saunders, coming to you from the ESPN Zone in Times Square in New York City.
But the real story out of that game was LeGarrette Blount throwing the punch at the end of the game after he was taunted by the Boise State player and being tossed for the rest of his career.
Oh man, it's sad at so many levels. Number one, it should happen. I mean, you can't lose control like that. You just can't, whether it's national TV, you can't lose control like that. And it's just sad though that and he seems to be a good kid, but to lose your career like that, I do think that the guy who taunted him should have got just maybe a little more than just a slap on the wrist.
I don't think that's. Listen, it was dumb, it was hot-headed. He overreacted, but I think the president of the University of Oregon overreacted too. And I'm not justifying with it. He actually started the trash talk.
Yes.
LeGarrette Blount started the trash talk in the league in the week leading up to the game. But wow, I mean, he ends up getting more time from his school than Pac-Man Jones got from the NFL. And I thought he'd get 5 games or 6 games. To lose your whole senior year, to me, that was an overreaction too.
I feared that they would go the other way. I was afraid because of it, and I figured half a season was fair.
Yeah.
Exactly, Mike, I agree. I was really surprised about this. And the thing about this is that nothing happens in a vacuum, and they wanted to come out and look tough about institutional control, which that's a big phrase in college football.
Yeah, but I think you have to be aware of the environment. The environment, not just in college athletics, but generally, is that there's less and less and less public tolerance of these events. If you're a young player, you've got to understand this.
John, if that's a season-ending thing, there have been things that have happened at the University of Miami that it was ended the school's football season.
Not to mention that it probably didn't just end his college career; it may have ended his professional career. People are talking about a second-round pick being undrafted now.
It is my belief and this university's belief that playing football at the University of Oregon is a privilege, and with that privilege goes responsibilities. LeGarrette Blount will still be on our team. LeGarrette Blount will just not play for us on Saturdays. LeGarrette Blount needs his football program. He needs structure. I think he's taking this very hard, and he understands that he made a mistake and that he has to pay for that mistake. But we're not going to throw LeGarrette Blount out on the street. I love LeGarrette Blount. And what I told LeGarrette when we met together was that I don't want people to see the LeGarrette Blount that they saw last night. That's not him.
We will not put up with that. That is not the University of Oregon football. That is not the University of Oregon.
That's not what we're all about. That's not what we coach. That's not what we stand for, and it's unacceptable.
We'll be back, everybody, and we'll never run out of shit.